The following is protected under fair use, and apparently, YouTube agrees with me, baby! That's right, my copyright claim has been taken off. My Vrains episode 9 and 10 reaction is back. If you're looking to complete the Kevin catalog, you can watch it. You can do whatever you want with it. Just sit back and let these sweet, sweet words penetrate your ear, pussy. But enough of the good news. Let's talk about the bad news. Vrains episode 13. Oh God, what the hell was that? Why did we just sit through that? Why on earth did we get a recap episode 13 episodes in? And more importantly, why did we get a recap episode that didn't do anything? Like, the thing is, Vrains had, like, what was it, 2 or 3 recap episodes? But the difference was that in those, they tried to include some plot progression. They tried to do 1 or 2 little things. They wanted to make it more than just pointless. This was absolutely pointless. Like, again, I've accepted that this series is trying to be slower. I've accepted that it wants to be more thinking-based. I'm okay with all this, but you still need to keep things moving at a fast pace, and this was not that. Like, ironically, I think in a weird way, Vrains moves faster when it's not about the duel, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm actually more interested in what's going on when there are no card games. I'm much more interested in Akira's corporate espionage subplot. I'm much more interested in Aoi's family issues. Hell, I even found myself more interested in Go and his crotch goblin brigade. The more I think about it, the less I'm interested in the duels in this. And I'm not saying the duels have been bad. I've enjoyed things about all of them, but they're not that interesting in this. Now, I do like Vrains as a whole. I really like Vrains. I think there's a lot of great stuff in here. But I don't know. I feel like now is the time to bring up some problems. Before we bring up anything else, again, why? Why did we have to get a boring, pointless recap? 2 things have happened in this show. Like, 2! Essentially, when you think about it, the only important things that have happened is Yusaku teamed up with Ignis, and Ignis gives him Link monsters, and the only other important thing that happened is the whole thing with Aoi leading to the duel with Revolver. That's it. And to many of you thinking, well, for only 13 episodes, that is a lot. In some cases, yes. But let's think about where the other Yu-Gi-Ohs were at by this point. First one, we were knee-deep into Duelist Kingdom. I think around this point was like where we met Ghost Kaiba. GX, okay, we were in the middle of a filler arc, but I don't like it, but again, that was the idea of GX. 5Ds, Jack and Yusei had their big duel. We met the Crimson Dragon. I think 12 was when we even met around like Leo and Luna. So half the cast was already there. We're already knee-deep into Wondering the Mystery. Zexel, another slow one, I'll admit. But the plot was moving along, and by 12, like, we had that awesome tag duel. So we were at least getting interested in things. Arc 5, we already saw Dark Rebellion. We were already starting to wonder the mysteries of this show. Like, by this point, you should feel like more things have happened. And I don't mean things as in episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. I mean actual big plot things. Like, again, shonens need to stretch their plot out very long. An example of where this is done poorly is in the other big sort of sci-fi anime out right now, Recreators, or as I like to call it, long talking exposition dump anime. Like, the thing is that what separates Yugioh Vrains and Recreators is that Recreators is mostly people sitting around talking about philosophical concepts and sci-fi concepts that aren't really relatable to the audience. So even if you find it interesting, it's hard to keep your interest when it's crap that could never happen. In Yugioh Vrains, it is more about a potentially, I'm not going to say this will ever actually happen, but a possible technological future. So it's a little bit more interesting. But what this episode sort of showed is that they're really not sure where to go with this. Like, Vrains has been very slow, which doesn't have to be a bad thing, but I feel like it's becoming more obvious, especially after a 4-part rival duel, where in one episode, you essentially wasted 15 minutes on an eyeball sitting in a lake. Like, the thing is that this show has it inherently harder than the other ones. Like, this show, you have to set up these situations for duels to happen, because In the other ones, the dueling was right in front of them, and because the others, besides 5Ds, weren't trying to seem as intense, you could just have duels start whenever. You could just have them be in the real world. Somebody like, hey, you, play me in a children's card game. Let's do it. For those of you who can't see, I'm actually just pointing at my wall. But essentially, that's what would happen. But because here they have to do all the dueling in the Link Vrains, and Yusaku has to be playmaker for everything, you constantly need to keep setting up situations, which, again, doesn't inherently have to be a bad thing until you run out of ways to set these situations up. And that's what it felt like happened here, was they just reached a point where they weren't sure what to do, so it's the writers were like, hey, you want to assume that they don't get what's going on. But even at that, like, I didn't need a recap of all the duels. If you want to do an episode that focused on the question of AI and free will, that also could have been fine. But they didn't do that. We just got this waste of a time. And when you need to keep setting up duel after duel because you can't just have them duel, you end up in this kind of a situation where everything has to just keep getting moved out, and you can't really just let anything happen because everything needs a big setup. I don't know how you really fix this problem for the plot they're trying to have, but it's very clear that it's very apparent. Why else did the revolver duel need to be basically 4 episodes? And again, like I said, I do like Vrains, I really do, but there are problems. It's not perfect, and I felt this was the perfect episode to bring it up. As for some of the other things about the episode, when the frog guy and the pigeon first showed up, I said they were fine. They didn't overly bug me. They really bugged me here. Seeing more of this show and how its comedy style and how its character actions show up, they really don't fit. And while we're on the subject, they were not funny in this. The only line I thought was sort of cool was when they showed the end of episode 2 and the pigeon goes, "Playmaker is cool." Just the way he said it was fine. But yeah, other than that, they really didn't do anything that interesting here. Like, I kind of liked the Emma stuff at the beginning where it's like, oh, she's just doing this for cash, she doesn't even really care. But considering she walked up to Yusaku at the hot dog cart and all that, I'm just going to assume she's already figured it out. That's Playmaker's base of operations, and just assume the thing would be deleted. Hell, if the thing wasn't deleted, it would have been better. If the interview went live, if everyone knew what was going on, that would be so much more interesting. Like, again, it wouldn't change a whole lot because nobody knows who Playmaker is, but if they did that, at least you could have done something with the media element going on here. How interesting would it be if Soul Technologies now has to directly deal with the fact that they let this AI loose, that Playmaker is after something, has something they own. Like, again, media is a subplot in this. We saw this with Akira, we saw it with Go, we saw it indirectly with Aoi, and we see how the media affects our characters. You could really keep that going in this, but they didn't. Like, it just deleted, nothing in this episode mattered, nothing interesting happened. If you really wanted to do something here, why not make Aoi do the recap? Why not make it that she's contemplating everything? Why not show her? I'm really afraid we're just going to abandon her after this, because it's like, and some may be like, oh, why show her? Well, the thing is that a day or two ago, in the universe of this show, this girl came out of a coma created by the fact that her mind was separated from her body and put into a video game. Like, I think it would be much more interesting to see how she's coping with this and contemplating everything that's happened, instead of just a frog and a pigeon editing a news story. But I don't know. Look, if you thought it was fine, that's great. I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Vrains' problems as a whole and how really not interesting this was. I'm sure the show will pick back up next episode, but, you know, I do these weekly, so I feel like it is kind of good to take 1 or 2 weeks every once in a great while to bring up how things aren't always perfect here. But that's just what I think. If you liked this, fine. I can't imagine many people did, but if you did, it's fine. As for the TCG question of the week, I know this doesn't really pertain to a lot of people, but it's got me wondering, what's up with World Chalice prices? Have you guys been seeing this, like, on Market Watch videos and stuff? They started out at almost nothing on Friday, and then have, like, jumped insanely high over the course of, like, 4 days. I don't know why this is happening, because, look, I love the deck. It's a lot of fun. It's not top-tier material. It's not. It's too combo heavy, and the combos are easily breakable. Firewall Dragon is still in the mid-30s range, which is insane to me because, again, what can really use it right now besides World Chalice hype? Again, I love the card. Definitely warrants being expensive, but it's going to get reprinted 10 times. Probably, again, it's already been reprinted once, so who knows? Give me your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and let's hope we get more positive next week.